everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and we are going to be talking about custom brushes today. And I thought I'd show you how to make a few that might make your life a little bit easier. Just open up a normal whatever page for practice, and then create a new one that's 400 by 400 pixels. All right, I'm going to pull this shape up, and what I want you to do is not just yet. Let me erase this out, but you're going to take a when I'm done, you're going to take a screenshot when I tell you to, and you're going to bring this into your 400 by 400 pixel. And what we're going to do is create, if for those of you that like to draw Spider-Man and maybe you want to save some time on drawing the webbing, you can make this brush and make your life a lot easier. Okay, so go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Like I said, bring it into your 400 by 400 and just trace over it. So make a new layer and just trace over the top and then get rid of the old one that you brought in. Okay, and then once we have that, what we want to do is we're going to switch to our brush. I just have the hard round brush selected, so it's just the basic brush. And we're going to hit edit and we're going to go define brush preset. Okay, so we're going to call this webbing and hit OK. And now if you see, if I start painting with this, which let's make sure we're on black, it doesn't do anything. It's not really going to help me at all. So let's go to our presets here, and on the first, the brush tip shape, we're going to go to our spacing, and I'm going to space that out to about 169. Then I'm going to go to my shape dynamics. Okay, all you have to do is come down here to angle jitter and put direction. Okay, and you can see we have a little bit of a broken space here. So I'm going to go back to my brush tip and I'm just going to run it back a little bit right there. So what I could do is we can come in here back to this area and we can kind of break this a little bit here, like at an angle. Okay, so I can switch back to this. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, and then let's make sure that we're back on our hard round brush. And again, I can just go to edit, brush set, I'm going to call it webbing, and then come back to this page. Again, we have to start setting up our brush presets. So again, let's bring the spacing out and go to our shape dynamics, pick direction, come back, and we can adjust our spacing. Okay, so it looks like we're kind of just breaking the wrong end. So let's come back over here and watch. I can just hit Command Z and it'll bring that back. It's actually this side that I want to break. So again, I can get rid of this brush and make sure I'm on my hard round. Again, we can hit edit and preset and webbing. Okay, let's come back over here, go to our brush presets and do our spacing, shape dynamics, and direction. That's a little better. Okay, so now we can connect that there. Now when I start painting, I have me a nice Spider-Man webbing brush, right? So pretty cool. You can see that first one's a little offsetting, so like if you want to start off screen, you can do that and it'll be a nice, better flow, and you can, change the brush size. So this one's a little bit deeper in the back. You can convey that sense of depth. But that takes care of that. Let me go back to my hard round brush. Okay. So you'll notice something here now that I've clicked off that brush. If I click on the webbing brush, you see how it's still the same. It didn't save any of those changes. So what I want to do is you want to make sure after you have everything set up the way that you want, I'm going to come over here to this little four-pronged thing. I'm going to hit new brush preset, and we're just going to call this webbing again. I can hit OK. Now watch, when I come down here, you can see the new brush is there. So let's click on this, delete that. And now, anytime I pick this brush, let's make sure we have a new layer so I don't mess up the background. Now it'll be saved. So if I click off and then I come back to my webbing brush, it's saved on there and we're good to go. Okay? So now let's talk about, I'm just going to delete that layer and add a new one. Let's talk about making a grass brush. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my hard round and we are going to make a grass brush. Okay? So I'm just going to kind of make a basic kind of grass shape here. Okay, and then we're just going to fill that all in. Now some of you may wonder, well, why not just use the paint brush or paint bucket? Well, because we're working with smaller pixels here, it can give it a rough edge and we don't want that. Okay, so we're just going to fill that in right there like that. Now I'm going to clean up a little, meaning I'm just going to make it a little bit on the skinnier side. So if you want to wait till I'm done drawing it, and then you can just kind of, save or do a screenshot. But that's essentially the shape that I'm going to go for here. Okay. Now again, I'm just going to make sure everything's clean. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure I'm on my hard round brush, and I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Define Brush Preset. Let's just call it Grass. Okay. Now with grass, it's a little bit of trial and error, right? So if I just do this, again, we have to change brush presets around. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go into our spacing, and let's do that around let's change our size. We're going to do that around 32. Let's do our spacing around 73. Again, just trial and error. Okay. And then we're going to go into our shape dynamics and our size jitter. We'll do around the 20s, so we'll say like 21. Minimum diameter around high 30s. Let's mess with the angle a little bit and do just a little, not a lot. Yeah, we'll do direction. Let's see what that does for us. Around this. We'll just do around 50%. We'll do 51. Or no, let's go back. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, let's do 51. Turn this down to 1%. And this time we're going to add some pen pressure to it just so that we can change the size. You can see how the changes in size happen. And then we're going to go down to And then let's flip Y or X on that. Okay, and then we're just going to increase the scatter a little bit. Let's try around 70 with 69. And our count should be at 1. Uh, let's make the brush size bigger. Let's try up in the 300s. And we'll go with that for now. Let's see how that looks. Okay. So now you can see it starts putting my grass down. So if this was like my hill, right, I can start up here with more of like a lighter grass color. In here, and then just start working my way down. And just get darker as I get closer to the screen. Until we're almost black. So you can see how that can help you get an easy grass layout for your image. And it gives us some nice variation in there too, so it looks more natural, right? So I'm going to go back. I keep forgetting to add a new layer above that. So that's what I want. So make sure you have a layer so you're not drawing on the background like I was doing. Okay, so let's get rid of that layer. So that's going to take care of, well, actually, I take that back. So if you remember what happened last time, so we need to take and go back through our settings again because I clicked off of it. What we want to do is everything's still set up in here. So before you click off, make sure you go to new brush setting, grass, and then you can get rid of the old one. And again, it'll stay set up how you had it now. So now you have a webbing brush and the other one set up. Okay, so let's switch back to our hard round brush and we're going to create a chain. Alright, now when it comes to doing like a chain brush, you have to be careful because like a lot of people are going to want that line in there. So let's just start simple. We want to start with our chain here in the center, and then I'm going to click stroke by holding control and tapping on the dotted lines, and 3 should be fine with this size. And then I'm going to come in here and we're going to try to balance this out so that's even, and we'll hit stroke on that as well. So that's our initial chain. Now what I want to do is we're going to create let's do it this way. I want to make sure I'm still in that 3 stroke area. And then I'm just going to kind of cut that across. Let's bring the brush size up a little bit. Let's try 4. Let's see what that looks like. And it's a little better. Okay, so as I come down in here, I'm going to cut that off. Like that. Now if you want, Let's do this. It'll make our lives a lot easier. Just trust me. Because number one, I already messed up. Let's just recreate this real quick. I need to make sure that I had a new layer, because I'm just drawing on the background layer. That's not good. Alright, so we have that set up. Now I'm going to make a new layer on top. Okay, and you'll see why here in a minute. Let's kind of round this and come across and go down the end of that. Now what I can do is I can hit Command J, and then I can rotate and hold Shift till it locks in place. And we'll make sure that's in the center there. Let's not do that, because if we do that, we're going to be off-centered. So again, we'll add that new layer like we were doing. Let's make sure that we're going to round that. And I'm going to try to keep it even. Okay, so we're going to leave that open. Alright, now I'll come down here to this layer. And we're going to erase that out, just so that it looks like it's overlapping. Okay, I'm going to take this layer, we're going to hit Command J. Again, I'm going to rotate that around. Just slide that down this way. And again, let's come back down to that bottom layer. Erase that out, and then I'm going to click all of it. See how I have this one selected? If I hold shift and click that top one, I can select all of them. Just go to Merge Layers, and now it's all one layer again. Okay. Now, next thing you want to do is we're going to go for our color. So I'm going to add a new layer underneath it, and just so I don't get confused, we're just going to say color. All right. Let's do just a basic silver chain. So I'm going to start right here at the edge and go across. I'm going to try to keep that even. And then we're just going to color that in. Okay. Do the same thing down here. We're going to go across. And if you want to keep a straight line, all you have to do is hold the Shift key. Okay, so I colored that in. Now let's get this side over here. And once you're done coloring that in, you can choose to or choose not to add detail to your chain. So this is going to be more of a pristine chain. So this is not going to be like one that's torn up or anything. I'm going to come back up here to my lines layer, switch back to black. And what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of add in a little bit of detail here. but I'm doing it kind of like the opposite direction. Okay, so now if I take these two layers, again, if I hold shift, I can select them. I'm going to rotate this and hold shift, and then I'll even it out. And now again, if you want to, you can add shadows so that you have a base shadow color too. So I can just simply come in here, I can do one of two things. I can choose multiply, and by using that same color, and I just held Alt, we can get that shadow in there quickly. Or you could just turn it down to 50% and use black. It's completely up to you. I'm going to add this shadow in here. And what that does is it just adds depth to your chain. Let's use that line as a dividing line there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. And let's just come back to the line layer. Let's erase this. Again, just use that as a dividing line on there. And again, come back to our shadow layer. And put all that on there. Again, we're going to have a little bit of shadow here. Okay, now if you want to, you can add a glare on there. The only reason I would suggest not doing it is just because you will run into an issue of with your lighting. So whatever you're drawing in the scene, you may end up changing the reflection light. So it's up to you whether you want to or not. But we're gonna leave that there. I'm gonna come up here and hit edit, and we're gonna go to brush preset. I'm gonna say basic silver chain. Let's hit OK. I'm going to come over to our other layer over here. Now again, I can't just start painting with it, right? Because it just smudges everything. But if I come to my brush presets, again, we can space it out. Go to my shape dynamics and change that to direction. And I can come back with my spacing here. And I have a simple chain brush, right? And you'll notice, make it a little bigger, that line that kind of cuts it off there. It's because we have a kind of an off setting with our drawing. But if we come in here, I can go to my line layer and cut that down, and just go to each subsequent layer after that. And cut those down. once we've done that, we can just kind of redo what we just did. Okay, so I can come up here to my brush. Let's get rid of that. Just say delete brush. And we want to make sure we switch back to our hard round. We'll hit edit, basic. We'll just say basic chain. We won't do silver yet because we gotta rename it anyway. Okay, so again, let's delete that layer and just put a new one up. We don't have anything, so we can come back to our spacing again. Try to line that up. And direction. That's a little bit better. But you get the idea. Okay, so now we have our gold chain, our silver chain, right? And we have that little bit of an overlap, and that's that black line, but it's okay. You can play around with that in your shapes to get that however you want. Now that I have that, what I'm going to do is new brush preset, and we're going to say basic silver chain. Okay, and now I can come in here to my brushes, and we can delete the old one. And now, when I switch between my brushes, they'll always be set. Again, you can use it to show distance by just changing the size and shape of it. Okay. Now, something else to make your life easier is after you've done that, let's switch back to a hard round brush. After you've done that, just come down to your color layer, and we can do a gold chain and switch the color that way, right? Then it's just the same process. I make sure I'm on my round brush. I'm going to go define brush preset. We'll say basic again, just for now. We switch to the other side. We make our spacing adjustments. Change direction. Fix it a little bit. And now we have a gold chain. Of course, we don't want to keep it on gold. We want to switch to black, but so now any color I change it to, it's going to have that outline to it. So we want to make sure that that's on black. That was our problem. So let's just delete that. Sorry, sometimes I get working too fast and forget to do things. So let's try that again. We're going to go to edit, find brush, basic chain, come back over, delete that layer, add a new one, and let's do that again. We get our spacing, direction. Again, all you have to do is have it on black. And for some reason, it is only picking up the silver. It shouldn't be doing that. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let's try. Let's try this. Because, like I said, it should not be doing that. Try one more thing. I'm going to merge all the layers. Edit. Define brush. Basic. We'll call it basic gold. That's interesting that it's doing that, because it shouldn't be. It's supposed to be picking up the color. I wonder why it's doing that. Let's go back to the hard round. Edit. Find brush preset. Huh. That's interesting. Anywho, the other thing I was going to get at is, if you don't, let's say you just want this here. Let's try that. Let's go back down to the brushes. Let's get rid of the basic gold. But this is another option that you can use. Like, you can just have the line and the shadows, or you can leave the shadows out and just have the lines. It's completely up to you. It's probably best to just not have them, just because it will keep that color, and then when you go to color it in, it won't really work. So we'll do this basic chain. Again, come over here. Let's change our spacing and direction. And then I can draw my chain. However, you can select around it, color it in, make it gold, green, whatever color it is you're going for. So now I want to come in here and new brush set, and we'll say basic chain, no color. Okay, then I can get rid of this. And we have our two chain types. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now, other things that you can do, let's delete that layer, is you can make all different kinds of chains. To make various different shapes and just weird design, choices if you wanted. So, like, for example, if I wanted, I could come in here and make this circle like this, and hold control, just stroke. Again, we could do another circle. Stroke. Excuse me. Okay, and I want to make sure that I'm on my hard round. Okay, then I could turn on my symmetry tool, so that way I can keep it even. But now I could come off of here like that. So like see I have this kind of like a funky shape to it, and then I want to kind of continue that pattern. So again, I can come in here, which we could have done for the chain to begin with, but I can come in here and then come down here. Let's do a new layer for that. Let's make it a little smaller. I want it to be even, so let's come out, start to round, and then I'm going to hold shift and go out that way. Okay, and then I can do the same thing and go Command J, rotate it, and hold shift, oops, hold shift and drag it down. And we can place it in here. About this area, yeah, we'll go like right there. Okay, and then I can take this bottom layer and we can just erase that out. And again, we can add as little or as much detail, so I'm going to turn symmetry off. I'm going to hold shift, pick all these layers, and we're going to rotate it around. And I'm going to shift it up, put it in the center. Okay. And then again, just whatever details you want to add in there is completely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to merge all these layers. Okay. And we can do the same thing we did before. And just have some detail. Let's round that a little bit more. Put one down in here. Like that. And then maybe a tiny bit of one right inside of here. Okay, again, your choice how much detail. I'm going to take that back out. Leave that like that. Maybe do something like that instead. Okay, so we just do the same thing. I say edit, define brush, and we'll say spike chain. Okay, and then I can come back over here, go to our brush presets, and we change the spacing out. Go to shapes and do direction. Again, come back here to our spacing. And now we have a cool chain design. That's something that's unique, right? So some other things to do too. I'm going to keep that. We're going to just call that. I'm going to come here and go to new brush preset. I'm going to say spike chain no color. Okay. And now I have that set up, I can get rid of my spike chain. Delete that brush. And now I have my cool little spike chain. Okay. Now something else to do too that you want to have is a solid one, right? So let me switch back to my round brush, because in some scenarios, depending on how you're doing your scene, you want to be able to um, have a silhouette. Okay, so like in this instance, I can leave a little bit of a glare there, just that way you already have an open space for any lighting that you want to put in. I might come from here. And you can do it completely black if you want to. Um, if you're not planning on doing that kind of lighting. Um, but I think it just saves time having that little gap there so that if you wanted to add some lighting in there and have that glare already set up for you in the background. So you have to kind of think about where those glares are going to be when you're setting it up. I shouldn't really be saying glares, I should be saying reflections. And I'll show you what I mean by how it works here in a minute, or how you could utilize it, and why I like to have it. So I'm just going to simply fill that in. Now again, because I'm working with small pixels, I don't want to just use the paint bucket and fill it in, because it can tend to pixelate the edge and then it's no longer smooth. So yes, it's a little time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. And then since we've already gotten rid of the other chain, I can show you a fast way to set it up to get that in there. Okay, and then just right here, I just fill that in too. And then we'll have a nice chain silhouette. Alright, so now that that's filled in, I can come here and go edit, find brush preset, we can say basic silo, just for now. Okay, then I gotta come in here and do the same thing. I gotta get my spacing out, um, change direction, and we'll fix that spacing. Okay, and now when I do it, I just have this silhouette of my chain, right? So let's say, for instance, you had, let me go ahead and save that brush preset. I'm going to say spike chain silhouette. That way I know it's a silhouette. And also, I'm just lazy and I can't spell silhouette just because I'm bad at spelling. um, but I can come to this one, right? And let's say I want to do my chain here in the front, and then we can shrink it. I'm going to add another layer. I can shrink it this way and go up a little bit more. And then I want my super background layer. I can switch to my other brush, and everything's, fit that way. So I can come in here now, on this first layer, I'm going to get rid of that part, and then make sure that that's connected. Again, I'm just showing you an example. Okay, so I can come in here and pick all of the areas and hit select inverse, and we're going to add a color layer to that. We'll just make it silver. You can fill all that in. Come to that next layer, and well, and we're just gonna kind of it's gonna kind of mess up here just because it twisted there at the end. So you want to make sure you go all the way off the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, for no apparent reason, all the way off the edge, just so I can fill it in. Um, Select inverse. Again, we can add a color layer to that. I want to go a little bit lighter than the last one. Fill it all in. And then what you can do is, now that all that's together, I'll merge those two layers. And this is going to be real quick. And then I'm going to merge these two layers. I'm just showing an example of what you can do with it. Okay, so that's my back layer. So I can come in here and go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and see it'll kind of fade it. And then you can use that darker silhouette back there and do the same thing. And now we got depth, and because all that's darker back there, it's more of a silhouette. And that's what the purpose of using the silhouette would be. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all that. I'm going to show you one more thing to make your life easy, because you're like, well, hey, what if I want to do that for the other chain? Well, you don't have to draw the whole thing over again, right? I can just come to my basic chain, no color, right? Let's get rid of that. And I can come in here, and this is a nice part about doing this, is I can come in here and just go, make sure I'm on black, and just stamp it, right? You stamp it in there, and you can get your shape back. Okay, now just rotate it back to the side you want it on, and we can switch back to a hard round, and I can do Zoom in. And cut that off. Again, I can have a reflective side. Again, I can come right here, more towards the top. Get that reflection in there. And I can just kind of darken it up by tracing back over. Again, we just fill all that in. Now, I mean, if you wanted to use the paint bucket, you'd have to use it like this. So see when I click in there, how it doesn't fill it in. If you click it again to try to just fill the whole thing, that's when that pixelation comes in, and you don't want that. So you could technically use it to save you some time, but you still have to hit up that white edge that's left behind. Okay, so I want to make sure this line's straight. Again, just kind of come in here. And I can fill that in. And we'll trace over that. Let's fill that in. And again, you can do it without the light on it. You can just have it be a solid shape if you want. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Go to Edit, Line Brush Preset. We're going to say Basic Chain for now. Come switch back over here. Get our spacing. Turn that to direction. Now it's connected. And you have a chain silhouette. So you can see the bigger it gets, the more you're going to see, that glare that's on there. Alright? And then you want to make sure that you save a new brush preset. We'll say Basic Chain Silo. Okay? And come back, get rid of that old brush. Okay? So, just to recap, today we have made a webbing brush, we have made a grass brush, okay. We have also made a basic silver chain brush, a basic brush with no or basic chain with no color in it, so that we can change that. Basic chain silhouette, a A spike chain with no color in it, a little bigger, and that same spike chain but as a silhouette. Okay, so these are just some ideas for us to go over. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a little something that can make your life a little easier. If you're new to the channel and you like what you saw and you want to see more stuff like this, I got all kinds of stuff on the channel. Just go ahead and let me know what you want to see, and I'll create it. Um, for those of you that have stuck around for all my shenanigans, I appreciate it. Just remember to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay around. Other than that, I really do appreciate it. Let me know though, this channel is for you. I'm not in it for the money or none of that. It's just more like a hobby, but I do like teaching. So anything from traditional art to whatever, just let me know what you want to learn, and I'll be glad to make a video on it. I mean, other than that, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Remember to keep sketching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye.